Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Video. We are starting a brand new series, at least I hope this will be a brand new series. A lot of that, of course, depends on whether you guys enjoy it or not, where we take a look at a character, we list out every single duel that they were in, and we rank every single duel that they were in. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind. I am not ranking duels that are extremely short, or were flashbacks, or were off-screen. I am only ranking duels where we saw at least 90% or more of the duel, and the first character that we will be taking a look at and doing a deep dive into is Aki Izayoi, or Akiza Azinski from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, the leading lady of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. Just to give you guys an idea, here is a list of all the duels that we will be ranking. She had a couple of flashback duels that, of course, did not make this initial list, and she had the duel against the Cup Ramen Man, I think in episode 115. It was literally a two-turn duel. I did not feel like including that. If I did, it would have been at the very bottom. So Aki had 9 duels that we are taking a look at, and we are going to rank them from worst to best. I am hopefully going to do this with a bunch of characters, and with that said, let's begin the video. Every Aki duel ranked from worst to best. I hope you guys enjoy. Starting at number 9 is Aki versus Gil Ransberg, Sir Ransberg, whatever you want to call this guy, in episode 16. This was actually Aki's debut, or I should say formal debut duel during the tournament in the very first season. I thought this duel did a good job of introducing her character without giving the audience a lot to really process when it came to Aki. We didn't really get any backstory. We just scratched the surface with her character, which is always what an introductory duel really should do. So I thought this duel served well as an introductory duel. But when you compare this duel to a lot of other duels that she was in, where you got some meaningful backstory, you got some really good back and forth dialogue, this duel really does not age well in comparison to the duels that she has later on in the show. That being said, it was awesome to see the formal introduction and debut of Black Rose Dragon, and to see that her dueling actually caused real life damage to Gilsburg and to parts of the stadium. I really did enjoy that aspect of her character. And again, it's a good introductory duel. It's pretty short, it's pretty forgettable, and I feel when you look at a character, as the duels progress, they should get better and better. That's mostly what happened with Aki. So her first duel, for me, comes in 9th on this list. Coming in 8th is Aki versus Yugioh, or Tetsu Trudge, in episode 75. One of the only memorable things that Aki did post Dark Signers arc was have that episode where she got her D-Wheel license. She was very inspired by riding on the back of Yusei's D-Wheel during his duel with Sherry to get a license to operate a D-Wheel, because she felt that it brought dueling to another level that she had not yet experienced. Well, to pass that licensure exam, she had to duel everyone's favorite cop, Yugioh, and if she beat him, she would be able to pass. During the duel, there were these 3 buffoons, you guys might remember, that were trying to basically sabotage Aki. I believe they felt that a woman did not deserve to be a licensed riding duel player, and so they were trying to sabotage Aki. And the most memorable thing from this duel is not even Aki beating Yugioh and getting her license. For me, it's Jack Atlas walking over to them and beating the living crap out of all 3 of them and just walking away. That to me is always the standout moment. And so when that's the standout moment from a duel, the actual duel itself probably was not that memorable. It was really cool to see Aki get her license. Again, it's one of the more important things she did after the Dark Signers arc, but I felt like the duel wasn't anything too special. So Aki versus Yugioh comes in 8th for me on this list. This was a hard one to rank because I didn't know if it should be the entirety of Team 5Ds versus Team Unicorn, or if I should just be looking at the part that Aki takes on Andre, loses to Andre in episode 99. And so either way, whether I look at this duel in full or I look at this duel from just the Aki perspective, and I'm trying to put a little extra emphasis on the Aki perspective, I thought the duel was okay. I never really loved Yusei being the one to defeat all Team Unicorn members. If you don't remember this duel, Jack takes on Andre, he loses. Then Aki takes on Andre dueling for the injured Crow, she loses. And then Yusei literally beats every single member of Team Unicorn. I felt like at that point in the show, Yusei was already at that impenetrable status. I didn't feel like he needed to 3-on-1 a team and defeat them during this tournament, but it's Yusei, and that's just what 5Ds decided to do. Looking at the Aki portion of this duel, it was pretty short. She did have a very memorable moment where she summoned Stardust Dragon onto the field so that when she was defeated, Yusei was able to start with Stardust Dragon, further symbolizing the bond between those two characters and really passing the baton to Yusei. So I liked that a lot, and that's the reason it's a little higher than the previous two duels, but nothing from this duel really stood out from Aki's perspective, and that's what I really wanted to place an emphasis on. So coming in 7th is Aki's portion of the duel, Team 5Ds versus Team Unicorn. The top 6 was all pretty hard to rank because all of these duels I thought had a lot more substance than the prior 3. And coming in 6th is Aki versus Misty round 1 in episodes 38 and 39. This is the second Signer versus Dark Signer duel that we see, the first being Yusei versus Kyoryu, which also ended in a no result, much like this one did. We learn a little bit that Aki has some sort of deep tie to Misty, even though she doesn't realize it. Misty claims at the end of this duel that Aki killed her brother. Now, we don't know if that's true at the time, but if it is, that's obviously a massive, massive development. And so that was a crazy plot point to just drop at the end of the duel. Misty summons her Earthbound Immortal, which absolutely terrifies the viewer and terrifies Aki. And right when the Earthbound Immortal is about to attack, Sayer gets defeated by Carly, and the duel comes to an end as the building collapses. This duel had a lot of really cool moments, and I loved the chilling setup for what ended up being a really good rematch between Aki and Misty later on in this arc. I thought this duel did everything that a first duel in a 2-duel series should do, but of course the no result ending, not really seeing it fleshed out as much as it could be, even though it shouldn't have been because that wasn't the point of this duel. It, knocks it down a little bit in comparison to the other ones, and so Aki versus Misty round 1 comes in 6th place for me. Coming in 5th is Aki versus Commander Koda. This duel, unlike Aki versus Gilsborg, in my opinion, has aged really well. These two dueled back in episode 22 when we were still getting used to the Black Witch persona, but this duel exemplified what the Black Witch represents, I thought, way better than the Gilsborg duel. You could tell that Commander Koda, in the middle of this duel, was genuinely getting terrified. He was getting scared. I never really felt that with Gilsborg until maybe the very end, but just seeing Koda get physically abused and beaten up during this duel by Aki's powers and effects, and how Aki was so cold and callous the entire time they were dueling, I thought this was the true debut of just how cruel the Black Rose Witch can be, and I absolutely loved it. She was terrifying in this duel. This is a duel where if you go back and watch, I think you'll probably appreciate it a lot more than maybe you remember it. I think this is a duel that maybe a lot of people forget about, but man, for a 1-episode duel, when Aki's character was still in that introductory phase, I thought it was really, really good. We even got some backstory on what happened with an incident when she was younger and how she kind of grew up, and so this duel, I thought, had a lot of really good elements that her formal debut duel didn't have. To me, it's aged really well, and Aki versus Commander Koda comes in 5th on this list. Coming in 4th is Aki versus Yusei round 2, which took place in episodes 40 and 41. This was the second and final time that Aki and Yusei dueled. Aki just got out of her coma after dueling Misty when the building collapsed the first time that they dueled, the number 6 entry on this list. Yusei was able to wake her up out of her coma. What was very interesting and special about this duel is her parents actually accompanied Team 5Ds. They went with Yusei to the hospital, Akiza's mom and father, and obviously she had a very angry reaction when she saw them commencing the duel, calling Yusei an enemy, still partially under the control of Divine and the spell of Divine and all the brainwashing that Divine had done to her. Aki and Yusei duel the entire time, Yusei trying to get through to Aki and tell her that her parents made mistakes, but they do care about her. That's why they're here. Aki wanted to have None of that. She did not believe it. And then right when she was about to deal a finishing blow to Yusei, her father steps in the way, about to take Aki's physical attack. And Yusei is, yelling at him to stop. And then he starts walking towards his daughter as she is delivering these attacks, saying that no matter how much pain she causes him, it will not undo the amount of pain that basically he caused her by abandoning her, and that he loves her, and he knows deep in his heart he does. He has to convince himself of that, and Aki has to believe that, and eventually she does. Eventually she realizes she does not want to hurt her father, and she finally controls her psychic powers right when a big piece of debris is about to hit him in the head and probably kill him. It's the first time she was able to control those powers, and Yusei delivers the final blow with Stardust. Honestly, it was a very wholesome and emotional duel, and I really, really loved the rematch between Aki and Yusei from that family perspective, and it was really when Aki finally, or mostly I should say, overcame her trauma as the Black Rose Witch. It was a very good duel and a very good episode, and it comes in fourth on this list. Coming in third, taking the bronze, is Aki versus Misty Round 2 in episodes 60 and 61. This duel was really good. It started in the Hall of Mirrors when Aki was facing her past. Misty kept using these forbidden memory spell cards, which prevented her from drawing monsters, drawing spells. But what it did for the story was far greater. It showed Aki, Toby, coming to Misty, telling her that she found a person, or he found a person that reminded him of himself, and that was Aki. And then it shows him going to Aki, and Aki kind of shunning him away. And then it shows him, of course, dying, and the Arcadian movement burying the death of Toby. And of course, we learn later on from Divine that he personally killed Toby, and it was a really, really messed up what happened to that guy. Probably one of the darkest things that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has ever done, in my opinion. And then they dumped his body. It was really dark, and the duel itself was great because Divine, for the last time, unleashes Aki's hidden power, the sleeper agent spell that he cast on her. And so you have Insane Misty versus Insane Aki for a good portion of this duel, and seeing two people just born on vengeance and hate attacking each other, it was really beautiful to see. Eventually, they both snap out of it. The wicked god inside of Misty recontrols her right before she's about to surrender, but Aki goes on to put down the finishing blow on Misty, giving the Signers a crucial win. The rematch duel between these two was great, and in my opinion, it's one of the best, if not the best win a girl character has ever gotten in a duel. It's still up there for me as one of the best ever, even all these years later. Aki versus Misty Round 2 comes in third on this list. Taking the runner-up spot is Aki and Crow versus Sherry, which takes place in episodes 139 and 140. Boy, oh boy, was this duel fascinating and really, really enjoyable. Much like Aki versus Misty, the stakes were very, very high, and it had kind of two parts to it. Aki versus Misty Round 2 started in that Hall of Mirrors. Aki and Crow versus Sherry start with the École de Zone field spell, where Sherry is basically tricking Aki and Crow into attacking each other. Aki is the one who realizes she's been attacking Crow when she sees a black feather on the opponent's field. She's able to summon Black Rose, snap out of it. We get some great backstory and great dialogue between Sherry, Crow, and Aki about why Sherry is doing what she's doing, that she wants to change the past. Really, Crow is the one who is able to get through to her in that regard. But the end of this duel is one of Aki's best moments, dueling-wise and character-wise. Sherry is putting it all on the line with the Soul Binding Gate. She's ready to die for this cause. And Crow summons Black Feather Dragon, trusting, praying that Aki had a trap that would be able to allow Black Feather Dragon to get over Sorcerer de Fleur. And boy, oh boy, did she have that trap. The trap increased Black Feather Dragon's attack by Black Rose Dragon's attack. 5,200 attack for Black Feather Dragon does the job. And so Aki, big clutch moment there to destroy École de Zone and to boost Black Feather Dragon's attack. And right when it looks like Sherry is about to die, Aki's power finally kicks in with its true purpose, and it sets her on a path for the rest of the show to become a doctor, to become a nurse, to become a healer. She's able to save Sherry and save Crow and save herself, and Crow makes the comment, maybe your powers are best used for healing. and that's when Aki realizes her true purpose. So from a character perspective, she really learned a lot about herself in this duel, and this to me is one of the better Season 5 duels. I mean, there's so many good Season 5 duels, but Aki and Crow versus Sherry is one of my favorites still to this day, and it comes in second on this list. Coming in first is Aki versus Yusei, round 1, which takes place in episodes 23 and 24. This is the best duel that Aki took place in my opinion, and it's pretty ironic because this is one of the few duels on the list that she actually loses. But we really, at this point in the show, saw the first attempt at a character trying to break through to Aki rather than just viewing her as this demon. Yusei was the only character up until this point that saw more within the Black Rose Witch and wanted to kind of break her out of the spell that she had been cast under. We knew at this point that she had a horrible childhood and she was bullied because of her psychic powers, and Divine preyed on her when she was at her lowest point. And throughout this duel, you felt like Yusei was not only dueling Aki, but he was dueling everything, including her self-hatred and her anger for everyone and everything. Yusei fails to get through to her in the beginning and takes a real beatdown from her, considering the damage she deals is real and not virtual due to her psychic abilities. Besides the emotion, I thought there was a lot of really good strategy implemented by both duelists. Yusei ends up using the effect of Aki's Black Rose against her and wins the duel. And at the end, we see that Yusei actually got through to Aki as she whispers, "Help me," with tears in her eyes before being berated by the crowd and taken away by Divine. That was always a moment that really got me. The duel has a lot of really good dialogue, really good emotional moments, and from a dueling standpoint, it had some really good strategies as well. It earns the #1 spot on this list, and I believe it is the best duel that Aki Izayoi ever competed in. And that about wraps it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Fun fact, I actually had to take about a 4-hour break recording this between the second entry and the first entry because my voice literally just gave out on me. I'm sure some of you noticed that, but after not talking for 4 hours, I got it back. So I do, the struggles of a YouTuber. I do apologize for that. But thank you guys all so much for staying by and watching my first ever ranking every character duel video. Hopefully you enjoyed, and let me know some of your favorite duels that Aki Izayoi took part in. I'm really excited to hear from all. I am really excited to talk to you about this down below in the comment section. And a special thank you to my Platinum tier patrons, Horace Maye, Goosey Q, Panther J, Blue Maiden 28, and Jarrett Buller, and to my Diamond tier patrons, Jesse Wood and Latrell Smith. Thank you to everyone who supports me on Patreon and who is a YouTube channel member. There are some really cool perks associated with being a patron of mine or being a YouTube channel member. I definitely encourage you to check them out. And to everyone that has supported me through those means, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I stream on Twitch, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram. I have another YouTube channel called Super Deep Rot where I upload Mario and video game content. Link for that will be down below as well. Goal is 500 subs by September. We're a few away, so I think we're going to get there. Thank you all so much for watching. Any other characters that you would like to see me do this video for, let me know down below. Thank you again for watching, and I hope I will talk to you in the comments, and I hope you have an amazing day.